It's not possible. No one's ever been able to...
Alright, Forbidden Squee, we're here with Matt, aka Queso.
It's me.
And what did you do this weekend?
I bubbled. I got 39th place, national... God damn, you good? Speaking of bubble... Alright, so... World Nationals invite was 32 and up, and there was this a guy that I faced last that really wanted to go. And I felt bad for him. I'm sorry. Love you. I personally didn't want it, didn't care, but I'm upset because I was so close and didn't get it. So let's go. Prank Kids. One of two. Yeah. One of two in the whole entire... Oh, God. In the whole entire regionals there. I'm surprised there was even another one. So that was pretty cool to see. My bro. And then... So this is pretty standard. If you run into a Prank Kids player that's not running this, you know.
Yeah. But Roxy's hasn't come out yet.
Oh, you're right. You're right. We're playing Hidden Summoners format. And then hand traps, just 3 Ash, because this is a very combo-centric deck, and every hand in your every card in your hand is a resource.
How did
and
it
most
perform
combos,
for you?
Very good, especially against Mermaid. Very good.
Yeah.
I was facing against a Mermail Orcus player, and every single time he went for that Mermaid, bam! Stop, please. Don't do that.
Is that a secret Ash?
Yikes. Throwing it back.
Shh, don't tell him.
So,
dude, where are the commons,
that was pretty
my
good.
guy?
And
Where's
then,
your budget player?
Hey, this is the main deck. You gotta bling out. Speaking of bling out, here I am with the Super Aleisters. This is what differentiated the... I know there's secrets, but that's okay. I know this is what differentiated the Prank Kids deck versus the other one that was playing. I think he was playing Pure. I was actually really just testing out Invoked this weekend, just because I like Invoked and I've neglected it as an engine for so long. And I figured, why not? There's some synergy in it. Invocation is a really good searchable poly. I was using Fusion Recycling Plant before with Mystic Mine, and that's what he was using. I think I performed better than him. I'm not sure where he was in it, but it opens up some plays.
He beat Noah.
Yeah, he beat Noah, so... Yeah, I didn't have that privilege, so...
Casually flexing on the other Prank Kids player.
Just casual, you know.
Yeah,
it's like, a bro thing.
I did better than him, but...
yeah, no, it's brotherly love.
Yeah.
He did better than every single other person in that regional just for playing Prank Kids. So, hats off to him. I hope to fight him someday.
Only 2 Meltdown.
Yeah, 2 Meltdown, just because... I'd rather start my Prank Kids plays more than I would my invocations and stuff like that. And plus, like, I run so many polys, it's not even funny. And that's just means to an end. Like, that's just basically a long sum and short of it for searching out polys. There was this one time where this guy let it through. He let the Aleister through. And then I was like, Invocation. And he was like, okay. And then I summoned Rocket. And then when I used Rocket, he chained something to negate it. And I was like, you can't Magical Meltdown. And he was like... yeah, huh? Interesting.
No one knows about that second effect.
Yeah, it caught a lot of people off guard. So there were some times where I deliberately used Prank Kids Place first instead of Meltdown, just to like kind of like divvy up the field spells. So it's sometimes you got to big brain it, you know.
Big brain.
Big brain.
What if you use Meltdown so then your Super Poly can't get negated?
Whoa.
Oh yeah. I wish I was that smart. Unfortunately, there's no room for Super Poly in the side deck, or else, maybe. And then 3 Invocation. It performed very well. There was this one time I desired all 3. That was pretty fun. My Aleister just became Almiraj fodder, so that was really cool.
Oh, cool.
And then Poly 2, because Invocation does its job. And you really do need to see Poly as much as you can in this deck. You really need to. So that's the reason for that. And then Instant Fusion is a good starter. You summon your Rocket. Yeah. Love the multis. But you start out with Rocket.
You gotta run 3.
Prank Kid. This
right.
and any Prank Kid is a 2-card combo.
Yeah.
And then also for baiting out negates and stuff like that, you could also summon Raidjin if you so choose. just to
Nice.
get that going. Just try to put something face down.
So did you ever brick by not having a poly in your hand?
The opposite. There was the one where I just had all polys.
Nice.
But usually I didn't brick. I mean, maybe like once, which is like really good for prank kids because they're notorious for bricking. So thank God for that. I was really surprised with how consistent the deck was. Most consistent than it's ever been because I used to run a Thunder Dragon variant and I would always draw my one Hawk and that pissed me off more than anything in the world. So another poly we have is Prank Kids Pandemonium. Just to put it in perspective, we got all that.
Only 2?
Yeah, because you can search it out, send it to the grave with fansies, add it back with Doodle. It's very versatile, and plus, like, it locks you into Prank Kids after you use it. So I'd much rather use it, use Invocation and Poly for my turn. And then by the end of it, I'll always pretty much have one of these face down to either Battle Butler or Weather Washer, which I'll go into depth about later because Weather Washer was the MVP of the tournament. And then Prank Kids Pranks. I used to run 2, and now I run 1. For this build, it worked out great. It worked out fine. There were some times where I would banish it and my long game just became non-existent. But if with 1 plan, 1 pranks, it ended up working out pretty well. This is more of like an aggro take on the deck, so it's not really for the long game. So with that respect, but otherwise run 2 or 3. But like as I said, because it's so consistent, this would also be a budget combo starter. Like you'd run into that if you have another Prank Kids card in hand. You discard something, special summon a token, and it pretty much is like the instant fusion combo, 2-card combo, but it's a 3-card combo. So, 2 Potted Desires, just because you don't draw everything in the world when you need it. So hopefully they don't have the Ash. There were some times, like every time I activated this, they were like, "Yeah, pay cost first." And even if they didn't have anything, they just like to just scare the crap out of you. It's like hazing. So
I'm glad I wasn't the only one that experienced that at the, the tournament.
I'm glad too.
Cost?
Yeah, pay cost.
You're good.
Like you would just go Potted Desires, and they don't even give you any time to they're just cost. Spend it, please.
Like even if it's like a mind game, like what kind of other choice would you have?
Yeah,
Like
go say it anyway. Why are you enforcing me so hard?
It's just like a grudge thing. Like, man, you could draw 2 cards. Pay that cost.
Pay that cost.
Yeah.
Just let it
I want to
sink in.
see it done.
And then for traps, 2 Impermanence. This was really, 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 really good against Lunalight Orchest because 1, you could activate it for Mermaid, and then what I did is when I went first is I set them in the pendulum zones. So I would just negate something he was using to play, and then that zone was just done. So Tiger just stopped working, and he was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then
The only hand trap after the Azathoth that you could play.
Yeah.
It's good.
So it really saved my behind. And then Prank Kids Plan, good for shuffling. There was a game against Pendulum that I used this, and he attacked into my thing, and I saved 1, and I had 1 in hand, so then I was able to go into something. And then just good for recycling. And then against Solomon Grade, it's pretty good. I used Rorigon during my opponent's turn to just blow up his stuff before he was able to do anything. No, I did that to Altergeist. That's right. I popped off so hard. And the guy next to him, his friend, was like, interesting. Okay.
How many times did people just run into your plan?
I only got to use it once or twice because I was mainly playing like Thunder Dragons and stuff that don't really use a lot of back row or spells and traps and stuff like that. So.
No, like attacked.
Oh,
and then you used it.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone, because like who cares about it? It's just like it really is like it's mainly used for shuffling your stuff back. I never like came back because of Prank Kids Plan. Like it only affects 1 monster. If it was like a weird mirror wall or something like that, if it affected everyone, that would be like bonkers.
Like True Draco Apocalypse.
Yeah, True Draco Apocalypse. So here's extra deck. We got 1 Battle Butler. Broke my heart to have it done, but I'm not whipping them out as much as I used to in this deck. There were some times in previous builds where I'd be whipping out 2 of these in a turn, and it would be so funny. But this is just on top of all the negates or disruptions that I have. It's just one final FU. So then there's 3 Rocket Ride. If you run less than this, you're silly. Because there are some times where, like, you know, you're instant fusioning him out, you're polying him out, and especially if you have 1 plan and 1 pranks, you're not getting them back. Like, you have to, like, go out of your way to put him back in the extra deck. So you have to run 3 for consistency's sake. Or because there were some times where I was testing with 2, I was just left in the dust because I couldn't do anything else. I was like, I could poly for... You can't really do anything because you'd have to have 2 on field for a link for Doodle Doo or something like that, and you can't get that without being able to poly. Like, there's no way for prank kids to take 2 prank kids in hand and just field. There's no way to do that unless you have like a poly or anything like that. So that's one of the deck's weaknesses. Like, you have to fuse or else you lose. So there's Weather Washer, MVP of the deck, and I was mainly getting a lot of inspiration for my deck from an Invoked Prank Kids deck profile online, and there were some things that I didn't agree with, and this was a big reason for disagreement. Weather Washer was the MVP of the deck, and in that build he didn't use one. So, and especially in the unfortunate time we are, where time is a thing, time is a factor, there were a lot of games where I was just able to summon prank kids that were not being able to be destroyed by battle that turn. So that just allowed me to say, oh, your turn's over now, let me go. And then burn for 500, gain for 1,000, further widening the gap. Shitty, but that's just the mechanics of the deck. It's just how the deck works, and also, like, being able to make every prank kids you have in our mateys is really good. It's an underrated art form, and I feel like we need to go back to basics here. And then Invoked Engine, I only run Raidjin and Purgatrio. There were some times where I OTK'd with Purgatrio, and that was pretty nice because there were some times where I made an Orcus player end on just like a bunch of little Lunalights, and they couldn't really do anything else, like with all the ashes and impermanences. So I was just able to just go, oh, prank kids, Purgatrio, go, and then attack. The reason I don't run Mechaba is, unfortunately, the extra deck is tight. So you would have to run not only Mechaba, but Secure Gardna in order to run it, which is your only light target in existence. I would say in deck, but not even in deck. In extra deck, side deck, whatever. Like, it would be the only option, and I feel like that wasn't worth it. However, there were a lot of light targets that my opponent had, a surprising amount of light monsters that my opponent was using. Whenever I wanted to go for Invocation, it seemed like my opponent always had a light. So I was thinking about maybe just throwing in a Mechaba, but without having any proper use to use it on my own without my opponent's help, I just feel like it's not worth it. Especially since you usually want to summon Mechaba turn 1, and you wouldn't have that option unless they Veiler your Rocket or something like that.
I mean, it's like Hida.
Yeah.
Like,
so I just went for more like OTK, and plus like Raidjin's really good. Like, it stops link plays sometimes. So
you get instant fusion Mud Dragon and then make them light.
Hold on, that's actually still that's the same thing as running Secure Gardner though. That's using another one. So Xyz, totally awesome. Abyss Dweller. Thank God for turn 1 plays. Totally Awesome is one of the GOATs, because even if you use his effect, you add Dropsies back to hand, and then you have all 3 prank kids to go into Battle Butler right after. So there's pretty much a sequential order of like what you have to do when responding to your opponent. You usually use Toad first, or they kaiju it or whatever. That actually happened to me. And then the one time I actually summoned Abyss Dweller, get Nibiru'd, first time in tournament. The only time in tournament I got Nibiru'd was against True Draco, so that was salt to the moon.
It's so weird that they're playing Nibiru, not Sphere Mode.
He played 3 Nibiru and 2 Sphere Mode.
Oh, that's right.
In that game. There was no way he wasn't going to draw it. And that made me want to harm myself. There we go. And we got Almiraj. This was one of the GOATs because the way its arrow is pointing is phenomenal. Like, I could go Aleister, Almiraj, summon Rocket, summon a bunch of stuff to this zone, and then I would tribute it off to summon maybe a Doodle where it was, point directly downwards, so I have 2 extra deck monsters right here. Then Doodle, I can summon Bow Wow to the other zone, since I'm going first, and then summon something down here and then set like a Pandemonium, and I just have like a bunch of extra deck monsters just because I was able to like move them around so much. So it's actually like really cool that the prank kids are able to do that. Just tribute gone, blah, 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 blah. And Almiraj just seems like an honorary prank kid just because of its ability to do that. And plus, you know,
he bridges the gap.
He bridges the gap
between the Invoked and the prank kids.
Exactly, and it just being able to protect something from destruction effects is also pretty decent, even though Bow Wow Bark does that to any prank kids monster anyway. But it's a nice thought, nevertheless. And then here's one of the goats as well, against like two decks in specific. Just Guru and I didn't face any Guru, but given the opportunity, he would be showing some work. And the, Altergeist. So he's very good just for planned surprising.
Any back row deck.
Yeah, exactly. And then Borreload instead of Borrel Sword. So I really like Borreload, and I played in the regional this weekend. I was originally having a Borrel Sword delivered on the way. I really like Borreload a lot better. I really do. It just gets past things that, you know, Borrel Sword wouldn't be able to. I should have came prepared for it with examples, but unfortunately, I can't really think of any.
Were there any times that you felt like you could OTK with Borrel Sword, though, if you had it?
I don't know, because, you know what? There was one where the guy summoned Titan, and he was ready to just pop the crap out of my Borrel Sword, and not being able to be targeted by card effects is amazing. And so I was able to take his Titan, attack over his other thing, and it just was kind of curtains there. Like, he didn't have anything else to do because I have his monster, he can't do anything with it, blah, 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 blah. It just, and especially with using Weather Watcher, I think my deck is more prone to be able to, like, last a little bit longer than just please die. The deck.
Did you say this was like an aggro build?
This is a more aggro build, but it's that nice Goldilocks middle. Because if it doesn't work out for me, turn 2, I'm not screwed. I can actually continue playing. So that's a beautiful thing to think about, to reminisce.
The Goldilocks middle.
The Goldilocks middle. Not too hot, not too cold. Burn for time. Here we go. I ran 14 side deck cards because my Evenlies didn't come in. So, Denko Sekka. I didn't face Sky Strikers. I would have loved to because they're one of my best matchups. Pankratrops. Didn't side this in against Pendulums. We'll never make that mistake again. Spear Mode. Lunalice Orchist. What are those?
Lunalice Orchist.
Yeah, nice loss, idiot. Twin Twisters against the Orchist thing again. Pendulums. Blah 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 blah. I was thinking like, oh, I wish I had Lancias, but also like not that bad. So Twin Twisters came in handy. Evenly matched. There's supposed to be a third one, but you know, I love shipping. So that's it. Hooray! Deck profile.
So is that 14
over.
cards in the side deck?
14 cards in the side deck, and I got 39. So I'd say, who needs a side deck?
Yeah.
Really, it's just arbitrary. So that's it.
Nice. Any shoutouts?
Oh, shout out Team Forbidden Squee. We came in droves. There it is. Got a little bit of dirt and the tears of my enemies all over that, but came in droves. We had a lot of fun. That's pretty much all to say about that. We came, we conquered, cried a little bit. All emotions were to be had. I did.
Oh,
Good
nice.
Chinese buffet.
Oh, that's true.
Good Chinese buffet.
Shout out to Chinese buffets everywhere. Do you know the name of the place?
She girl.
Shout out Hibachi Grill.
Yeah.
That's good value.
Sponsor us.
Sponsor us, please.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wish Isaiah was here to kiss me on the head.
Did you see the hostess look up and down like she was about to say, I charge you double? I saw her like when you walked in. It was literally so funny.
Alright, bud.
Like, she just went, oh no.